Hello, Nikita, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are
Ah,
audible. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Okay. ठीक है. Okay, fine. So I can see that the recording has started, so we can start our discussion. So do you remember that you have done a test called as qualitative detection of phosphatase? Do you all remember that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was the principle of that method? I don't want Akshay to speak. This batch is not called as Akshay batch, it's called TYBSC batch. So I want answers from others.
Sir, we used phenolphthalein. Hello?
बोलो बोलो राज.
Yeah.
Phenolphthalein agar.
Yes, sir. We used phenolphthalein phosphatase agar,
Hmm.
phosphate agar, and if organism produces phosphatase, then it will basically make the phenolphthalein free. And the
Hmm.
next day, when the organisms are grown, and if the activity has happened, and when we expose it to ammonia vapors, then the color will change. Like phenolphthalein will change its color. So we would see
Okay.
whether phosphatase is there or not.
Okay. Great. So now we are going to go one step ahead. We are going to see how do you quantify the activity of phosphatase. Okay. So you have quantitative phosphatase assay as a part of paper 3. You have first qualitative and then you quantify the activity. Okay. So it's going to be a chemical assay. Like you have done chemical assays in your SYBSc, you have done tons and tons of them. So it's going to be a chemical assay here as well. Okay. So let me tell you that what is the principle of this particular method. Okay. So you have to understand that phosphatase is an enzyme. Right. So are you able to see the screen?
No, sir, I was about to
No, sir.
ask you. Sir, are you sharing it?
Hmm. Now
Yes.
Yes,
this
sir.
particular. Huh. Okay. So it's an enzyme. So it's going to act on a substrate. Okay. So we are going to carry out a substrate enzyme interaction basically over here. Now, what is the substrate that we are looking at? The substrate that we are looking at is a buffered disodium phenyl phosphate. Okay. So this is our substrate that we are going to use for the phosphatase enzyme. So when phosphatase and this substrate will interact, what is going to basically happen is that they release free phenol groups. Okay. So our way of detecting the activity of phosphatase enzyme is by measuring how much free phenol group has been produced. So that's how we are going to detect the activity of phosphatase enzyme. The way you used to carry out enzyme assays in SY, जहां पर amylase activity used to be detected on the basis of how or rather invertase, not amylase, invertase activity used to be detected on the basis of how much of monosaccharide, that's glucose, is released, right? So glucose equivalence ke basis par we used to find out that how much what is the activity of your invertase enzyme. So very similarly here also, कितना प्रोडक्ट बन रहा है उसके बेसिस पर हम एक्टिविटी एस्टिमेट करने वाले हैं. ओके. सो अगर तुमको याद हो जब तुमने इन्वर्टेज ऐसे किया था तो तुम्हारा सबस्ट्रेट क्या था? डू यू रिमेंबर व्हाट वाज द सबस्ट्रेट फॉर इन्वर्टेज?
Sucrose?
वेरी गुड, सुक्रोज, राइट. एंड वी यूज्ड टू परफॉर्म डीएनएसए, राइट. स्टैंडर्ड हमारा जो होता था वो डीएनएसए का होता था. वो कौन से शुगर के साथ होता था?
Glucose, monosaccharide.
Glucose. Glucose.
Right. So here we are going to do the same logic. We are going to detect the product, which is the free phenol. So our standard is going to be of phenol. So we'll use different concentrations of phenol and we are going to have a standard graph. And then we will have a test wherein we make the substrate and the enzyme interact with each other and see how much of free phenol is released. And then that value we will extrapolate in our standard graph. So our regular chemical assays which we do in SY. But now the question is, how is phenol detected? Right? जैसे glucose detect करने के लिए DNA से होता था, DNA से used to be converted to ANSA. So similarly, how are we going to detect phenol? Is the question. Okay. So please understand that we are going to make use of a method called as 4-amino antipyrine method. This is also popularly called as Emerson's method because he's the person who discovered it back in 1943. Since then, we have been using this technique only for estimation of phenol. Okay, so it's like any phenolic compound you want to estimate, you can make use of this particular amino antipyrine method. Okay, now please understand that 4-amino antipyrine is a chemical which is going to interact with phenolic groups. Okay, and this interaction has to be carried out by alkaline oxidizing agents. Now there are two important conditions over here. One, alkaline. So my pH has to be as close as 10 or 11 for this reaction to proceed. And oxidizing agent. So there has to be something which brings about oxidation and leads to the interaction of phenol with 4-amino antipyrine. Okay. So if this is my phenol, this is my phenol, and this is the structure of antipyrine. This is my 4-amino antipyrine, which I'm writing as 4AA for now. So I need alkaline conditions for this reaction to proceed, and an oxidizing agent. That oxidizing agent in this case is going to be K3FeCN6, which is potassium ferricyanide. Okay, so potassium ferricyanide is going to be my oxidizing agent. Alkaline conditions will be maintained, and I am going to form a compound which looks like this. So oxidation है तो अमाइनो ग्रुप का हाइड्रोजन्स जो है वो निकाल दिया जाएगा, ऑक्सीडेशन प्रोसेस है, एंड फिनॉल ग्रुप जो है दैट इज गोइंग टू बी अटैच्ड टू दिस पर्टिकुलर. Obviously it's not a single step reaction, we are showing it as a single step reaction. So we are going to have our phenol group and 4-amino antipyrine group condense with each other during the oxidation process to form a quinone red compound. Okay, so quinone red compound, so the color is going to be red in color, and this compound which is producing this red color can be detected at a wavelength of 530 nanometers. Now let me tell you that 4-amino antipyrine has been used not just to directly detect phenol, but all phenolic based compounds. Okay, and also has been utilized for several diagnostic purposes. You will be learning some of these in the next semester as well, wherein you see how glucose can be measured or cholesterol can also be measured using the same technique of 4-amino antipyrine method. The only difference is that there the oxidation coupling agent is not potassium ferricyanide, but we depend on hydrogen peroxide. Okay, but I'm not delving into that method right now. We will see that in the next sem. So we'll not speak about it at this point of time as to how you can detect these biochemicals also like glucose or cholesterol in the blood samples using this particular technique. Okay, so obviously there are several applications to this in the area of research, in the area of medicine, wherein you want to detect phenolic based compounds. Okay, so here our aim is to detect the activity of phosphatase. So we are going to run a standard of phenol with a specific concentration range, and we are going to do the test assay wherein we have the enzyme and substrate interacting with each other. Okay, so I hope you have written down the reaction. If not, please quickly take a screenshot so that we can move ahead, because we have a lot of calculations and graph related work also to do. Okay, so please quickly take a screenshot, and once done, type a yes in the chat box. Oops. Okay, I hope you would have taken screenshots by now, so we can move ahead. We can see yes in the chat box. So let us see how we will do the standard assay first. And once we know the entire procedure, then we will write the requirements, because that makes the process easier, right? So let us see how you make the standard phenol graph, okay? So first of all, let me tell you that the standard phenol that we will make use of is going to be of the concentration of 50 micrograms per ml. This is going to be the concentration of standard phenol. Okay. Now you need to understand that this is too low a concentration. So making the stock is going to be trickier. So how do we make the stock? So the stock is made like this, wherein you take 30 mg per 100 ml. 30 mg is like 30,000 micrograms per 100 ml. So per ml convert करने जाओगे तो it is 300 micrograms per ml. Okay. Now can you tell me that इससे अगर मुझे 50 microgram per ml बनाना है तो मुझे क्या करना पड़ेगा? How many times I will have to dilute it? 300 से 50.
1 in 6. 1 in 6.
6.
1 in 6. So I'll get 50 micrograms per ml, right? That's 1 ml of the 300 microgram per ml wala thing plus 5 ml of the diluent, which is distilled water. Okay. So according to the volume that you need, you can obviously scale this up. Okay. So this is going to be my stock. Now, you know our way of writing things, right? The stock is 50 micrograms per ml of phenol. Okay. My range in this particular case is going to be 10 to 50 microgram per system. We are going back to what we have learned in SY, and I'm going to check whether you remember that or not. If you remember it, I will consider it as one of the biggest victories that we have had. Okay. The total volume is 5 ml. Diluent is distilled water. And the wavelength at which you will check the color is 530 nanometers. Quickly note this down. Very quickly. Come on. And type a yes in the chat box once you're done. Okay, great. Let's go ahead then. So let's make the table of the standard, right? So the first thing is going to be concentration of phenol, which is going to be in microgram per system. Volume of stock in ml. Volume of diluent in ml. Okay. So I have blank 10 microgram per system, 20 microgram per system, 30 microgram per system, 40 microgram per system, and 50. Okay. So I wanted to do the calculation. Blank, I know that nothing of stock and 5 ml of diluent will go. We know that our stock contains 50 micrograms in 1 ml. And you know that system matlab pure 5 ml ke system mein I need 10 micrograms. So how much ml should I add to get this? Is the question. So I wanted to do the calculation, make this table. Okay, और जगह छोड़ो टेबल में और बहुत कुछ है आगे लिखने के लिए, तो जगह छोड़ो, बस ये एंट्री करके मुझे बताओ हो गया तो then we will discuss that what is the volume of stock and diluent that you will add. Are you able to do it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you done? By now you should have the answer. It's not that difficult.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I want one of you to tell me, not Akshay, not Saloni, not Nikita, not Akhil, anyone else, not Anjana. Ishan, can you tell me what will be the volume of stock for the first tube which has 10 microgram per system concentration?
Yes, sir. 0.2 ml.
Very good. And how much of the diluent?
4.8 ml.
All of you have got this answer. Is there anyone who has not got it? It's okay if you have not got it. Let me know that you don't know how you have deduced this. If you have
Sir,
got
we
it,
got
then
it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
okay. So still, how do we calculate this? It's a simple cross multiplication. You're not doing RT by G here. 1 ml has 50 micrograms. So how much ml should I add such that my tube contains 10 micrograms per ml? Whatever may be the system volume then. We don't care. Because in that entire tube, I need to have 10 micrograms. So it's a simple cross multiplication which gives you 10 by 50, which is going to be 1 by 5, that's 0.2 ml. Similarly, can you tell me the value for 20? Akanksha?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Of 0.4 ml of volume of stock and diluent is of 4.6.
Very good. Sarvesh, can you tell me for 30?
So 0.6 ml of stock and 4.4 ml of diluent. Hello.
Okay. How do you get 0.6? It's 3 by 5, right? Okay, yes, okay, 0.6 and 4.4. Okay, fine. Next, can I have Siley tell me what will be for 40?
So 0.8 and 4.2.
Okay, and what will be for 50? Anyone? Voluntarily?
1 ml.
1 ml
1 and
of
4.
1
and
ml,
4.
4 ml of Tylenol.
Is this table clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
Great.
sir.
अभी यहाँ पे कहानी खत्म नहीं होता, अभी तो हमने सिर्फ ये कॉन्सेंट्रेशन बनाया है, कुछ भी ऐड नहीं किया है, बराबर? तो याद रखो हमको यहाँ पर 3 कंपोनेंट्स का ध्यान रखना है. एक एल्कलाइन पीएच चाहिए मुझे, ओके? उसके अलावा मुझे ऑक्सीडाइजिंग एजेंट चाहिए विच इज पोटेशियम फेरिसाइनाइड, और उसके अलावा मुझे F4 अमाइनो एंटीपायरीन चाहिए. So there are a lot of additions that I will have to make to do this test. Okay? So we will start with addition of 0.5 normal NaOH and 0.5 normal NaHCO3. Both of these agents are to make the conditions alkaline. Okay, so you are going to add 0.8 ml of NaOH to all the tubes, 1.2 ml of NaHCO3 to all the tubes. So totally alkali based additions is 2 ml, 0.8 of NaOH, 1.2 of NaHCO3. Okay, this is going to make it alkaline. After this, you are going to add 0.15% of 4-amino antipyrine. So before you add the oxidizing agent, your 4-amino antipyrine should already be present in the system. So 1 ml of this will be added to all the tubes. And 1% of K3FeCN6, 1 ml to all the tubes. Okay, so this is going to be your addition steps. NaOH and NaHCO3 for alkaline conditions. 4-amino antipyrine is the agent which will develop color. K3FeCN6 is your oxidizing agent. So all this has to be added, and then you take your absorbance at 530 nanometers. So immediately after the additions are done, you shake the tubes well, and you can start taking your readings. So please make this table in your book, and then we will see what to do for the test, because test is still left, right?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, like why we are adding two components like NaOH and NaHCO3, like we can even add like more concentration of NaOH maybe.
Yes. So one reason of this is that NaHCO3 is also going to help you in the test process to stop the reaction of the enzyme and substrate. After the specific time interval of interaction, you want the reaction to be curbed. You don't want the reaction to continue. So NaHCO3 will help you to do that also. But when I'm adding this in the test, I will have to keep a similar composition in my standard. So that is one of the reasons that you also incorporate NaHCO3, which not just give you alkalinity, but also helps you curb the interaction of the substrate and enzyme. Okay.
Yes, sir.
We will see that when we discuss the test. Let me know once you're done writing this by typing a done or yes in chat box. Great. So for test, what do we do? First of all, you have to inoculate SREs in nutrient broth and incubate it overnight at 37 degrees Celsius for around 24 hours. Next day, you centrifuge the broth. Okay, and the supernatant is what you are going to collect, because the supernatant will be the source of phosphatase. Okay, so we will collect the supernatant and that's going to be your enzyme. Okay, so you want to check how much of activity is there in phosphatase which is produced by S aureus. So ये एक दिन पहले आपको करके रखना पड़ेगा. So you have to see to it that you run the standard and the test on the same day. You cannot do that. You will run the standard on one day and do the test on the another. Never do that. Okay, so day one pe you will just grow the organism. Next day you will centrifuge it, collect the supernatant and use that as your enzyme. And you will run both the standard and test on the same day. Okay, now how do you run the test assay, which we call as the assay proper? Okay, assay proper is nothing but it's the test assay wherein you are using the enzyme and incubating it with the substrate. Okay, so let me tell you that for assay proper, the substrate is basically buffered disodium phenyl phosphate. This is going to be your substrate. Okay, now this is basically having a concentration of 0.01 normal. So it's 0.01 normal of buffered disodium phenyl phosphate. And this is made in 0.01 molar NaHCO3. That's why you call it as buffered disodium phenyl phosphate. Okay, a very low concentration of NaHCO3 so that you can dissolve the substrate there. Okay, now this is such low concentration that this will not do anything to the enzyme substrate interaction. Okay, क्योंकि मैंने पहले भी आपको अभी थोड़ी देर पहले अक्षय के क्वेरी के वक्त बोला कि NaHCO3 can stop the interaction, but the concentration here is 0.01 molar, which is very, very dilute. Okay, so it is not going to cause any harm. So instead of making it in distilled water, you're going to make it in 0.01 molar NaHCO3 to solubilize this particular salt. Okay, your enzyme is going to be the supernatant of the centrifuged growth medium. Right, so that's going to be acting as your enzyme. And rest of the chemicals will remain the same. So let us see what is going to be the procedure. Okay. So I am going to have two tubes. Okay. First tube is going to be the control. The second tube is going to be the test. Okay. Now let us see what are the components that I add. The first component that I add is going to be buffered disodium phenyl phosphate, which is my substrate. Right. So I'm going to add 4 ml of the substrate to both the tubes, to control as well as to the test. The second thing I will add is the supernatant, which is nothing but the enzyme. So in control, we will not add it. Okay, so you can replace this with distilled water. But what is preferred is that instead of adding distilled water, you add uninoculated medium. Now, can you tell me why we are preferring to add uninoculated medium over here over distilled water? देखो तुम्हारा एंजाइम जो है जो तुम ऐड कर रहे हो टेस्ट में, it's going to be the supernatant of the broth medium, right? So there are going to be components of the broth also. So if any of those components are interfering, we need to nullify that out, right? So to nullify that out, you should be adding 1 ml of uninoculated medium, right? While here you will add the supernatant of inoculated medium. Have you understood why we are doing this? See, your enzyme here is coming from a broth medium. There are going to be several components in the broth. We need to check if those components are contributing to the color. Are they going to interfere? So that needs to be checked. So that's why you are adding in your control tube uninoculated medium. So the moment you add uninoculated medium, it has the broth components and we can check if that is contributing to the color in any way. So ideally my control should not give me red color. But if it gives me red color, it's an indication that there are some components which are interfering. Have you understood this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now you will have to incubate it because you will have to give some time for the substrate enzyme to interact, right? At 37 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. तो ये तुमको incubate करना पड़ेगा 37 पे for 15 minutes, post which you will add 0.5 normal NaOH, which is 0.8 ml to both the tubes. 0.5 normal NaHCO3. Now this is a very high concentration and this will help to stop the further interaction that's going to take place between the enzyme and substrate. We are stopping that reaction. We don't want the reaction to continue while we are performing the assay. That will give me a lot of deviating readings. Now I hope Akshay it is answering your question. So if I'm adding NaOH here, it is better to add it in my standard also to keep the system same. Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and anyways, it's going to contribute to alkalinity. And then 4-amino antipyrine, 1 ml each. And your K3FeCN6, 1 ml each. Just like your standard assay. And then you take the readings at 530 nanometers. Okay. You can write this down quickly and let me know once done. So here in this assay proper, once the enzyme interacts with the substrate, it will release out phenol, and then that phenol is going to interact with the rest of the chemicals and give you the quinone red compound. Okay, while in standard, you have already used directly phenol itself. So that's why no incubation period is ideally required. Here incubation is required so that the enzyme phosphatase can cleave the substrate and release phenol group. Then it will be able to interact with the rest of the components. Okay. So now you have to understand that I have used control and test. So whenever I want to extrapolate the value of the test on the graph, I will have to minus out the value of the control. Because अगर मुझे control में थोड़ा भी absorbance आ रहा है, which means that there is some kind of interference, that needs to be minused out from the test. So test का जो भी value मिलेगा, उसमें से control का value minus out करने के बाद जो value बचेगा, that is what you will extrapolate from the standard graph. समझ में आ रहा है सबको?
Yes,
So if
sir.
my test is giving some value like let us say 0.40, and if my control is giving me a value of something like 0.05, so then I will minus this out. So what I will extrapolate on the standard graph has to be 0.35 and not 0.40. Okay, another thing that you could do is when you put the control tube, okay, so what you can do is that you auto zero it. And then against that you take the reading of test. So automatically वो auto zero का effect continue होता है. ये सब हम SY में बात कर चुके हैं. You know this very well. Right? So then accordingly you can take the reading. अभी जब आप standard का reading लोगे, तो standard में सबसे पहले reading आप blank का लोगे. Okay, वो blank auto zero करोगे और उसके against you will take the readings of all of this. यही blank रख के you can take the reading of your control. See what value it gives. And then वो control auto zero कर लो and then you take the reading of test. So minus out करने का भी झमेला नहीं है. क्योंकि तुम auto zero करके test का value लोगे तो automatically the machine is going to adjust for that interference values. So auto zero कर देने का अगर control में reading है तो such that it comes to 0, 0 and then you go for taking the value of the test. ठीक है? So I'm going to give you some dummy values. So I have concentration of phenol in microgram per system, which is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Blank I'm considering that at 530 nanometers, I have got it as 0, 0. Okay. And for the rest, I will give you the values now. So let us say for 10, I have 0.19. For 20, I have 0.37. Let us say here I have 0.65. Here I have something 0.80. And let us say here I have 0.98. Okay. Let us say control I had done auto zero. So test का value जो मुझे आया है, that is around 0.40. ठीक है. So now what you will have to do? You will have to plot the graph. So you'll plot the graph with these values that I have given you. Okay, don't forget that you have to label the x-axis, the y-axis. You'll have to write the scale, the title of the experiment. Do not forget what you have learned in SY. Will you make a graph?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So graph बनाओ, टेस्ट का वैल्यू एक्सट्रापोलेट करो, and then मुझे बताओ कि क्या concentration आ रहा है टेस्ट. You can type it out in the chat box. I'll give you 15 minutes to do this. Come on, speed up. Yes, where have you guys reached?
We're done.
हेलो, कहाँ पहुंचे? कहाँ तक हो गया ग्राफ बना के?
Yes, sir. Done.
Yes, sir. Done.
Yes, sir, done.
तो वैल्यूज डालो. Okay, so let's start with the calculation part now. Let us assume that you have a value of say 20.5 microgram per system. Now we have to see how we calculate the enzyme activity, okay? So enzyme activity can be either expressed as micrograms per ml per minute, or you can express it as micromolar per hour. Either of this is fine. Now for this, I know that this is per system. So let us first convert it to per ml. How will I convert it to per ml? I know my system volume. What is my system? 5 ml, right?
Yes, sir.
So divided by 5. Okay, so when you divide it by 5, it's going to be 4.1 micrograms per ml. Right? So this is going to be my concentration of phenol produced in micrograms per ml. Now, for the time aspect, we incubated it for 15 minutes. So if I have to express it as micrograms per ml per minute, then I am going to divide 4.1 by 15 to find out that how much will be produced per minute. So can you do that division and tell me the value?
Zero 0.273.
0.27.
So this will be one way of expressing my enzyme activity in micrograms per ml per minute. Okay. Another way of expressing it is going to be micromolar per hour. So how do we do that? Let us see that also. Okay. So another way of expressing it is wherein I know that I have 4.1 micrograms per ml. Okay. So I will express this as 4.1 into 10 raised to 3 micrograms per liter. Okay, so liter में convert करने के लिए I have multiplied it by 10 raised to 3. Okay, I know that for 15 minutes it is this much, right? So 15 minutes में it is 4.1 micrograms per liter. Okay, so how much is going to be for 3 minutes? The question. So it's going to be like 4.1 into 60 by 15, which is nothing but you are going to multiply by So what will be your answer? Right?
Yes, sir.
16.4. Right? 3, जो 10 raised to 3 already, we cannot forget. So 10 raised to 3 per hour. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All
Sir, you're actually not audible.
Sir, your voice
Yes,
is
sir, your
breaking.
voice is breaking, sir.
Did you hear me during that?
So could you explain that last part again? That micromolar per hour. Hello, sir.
Yes, yes. Wait. Have
Yes, sir.
patience. So we know that we have 4.1 micrograms per ml. Okay. We have to convert this to liters. So 4.1 into 10 raised to 3 micrograms per liter. But this is in 15 minutes that I have this much. How much in 60 minutes? So cross multiplication. So that's going to be 60 into 4.1 into 10 raised to 3 by 15. 4 times. That's going to be 15.4 into 10 raised to 3, which is microgram per liter per hour. Microgram per liter is nothing but micromolar. So micromolar per hour. So my unit here will be micromolar per hour. Is it now clear?
Yes, sir.
You can
Yes, sir.
express either way. So read question. If the question says you have to express it in microgram per ml per minute, then you do it that way. But if it says micromolar per hour, then you have to do it the other way. Okay? So will you do it for your values and put your final answers in both the unit systems in the chat box? अपने अपने values के लिए calculation
Yes.
करो. Put it in chat box
Yes, sir.
for both units. Okay, so I can see maximum of you have put the answer in the chat box. So I hope that you understand how do this particular test. Okay, and it's very similar to most of the assays that you've done. Okay, you will put up an interpretation. Okay, so many a times the problem could be about production of phosphatase enzyme and saying that something went wrong during the production of phosphatase to see if its activity has got affected or not. Okay, so 1 minute, just give me a minute. Yeah, so I'll speak over here. Probably this is better in terms of range. So what I was saying was, many a times you may be given a problem of phosphatase, that an industry is producing phosphatase from a bacterial species and something went wrong during the production, like there was a power failure, something happened, and you are expecting that the activity of the phosphatase that is being produced is going to be low. So okay, so you will be given the original value of the activity, and then you will have to perform the a decrease if there is an increase. So if they tell you to find the percentage decrease, right, divided by original activity 200. So decrease value into 100. जैसे normally हम percentage decrease calculate करते हैं, ये हमने start में ही discuss किया है TY में. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So you will have to minus out the current value from the original activity divided by the original activity into 100. So that gives you the percentage decrease. Many a times they could say that they were commercially producing phosphatase, there is an improvement that is done and you're expecting an increase in the activity. Then wo increase, you will have to again check in that way. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll make few problems on this. Try it out on your own, and in the next week we will discuss these problems. Is that okay? I will post these problems. You can try out all the problems for some basic calculations. And we will discuss these problems in the next week. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and your internal test will
Yes,
not
sir.
be in the next week. It will be in the week after that. Okay, so it will not be in the next week. We'll still send you emails regarding what the test is going to be about and what all topics you have to read. But it's not in the next week. It's going to be in the week after that. Okay. Any questions, any doubts regarding this experiment, please let me know. Okay, we have to write requirements. We forgot that part. So can we quickly do that? Can you tell me how many test tubes will you need together for standard as well as assay proper? How many test tubes will you need?
13.
6 for the standard itself, right? And 2 for assay. So how 13?
Oh, sorry, sir. I don't know.
8, right? Then clean and dry, 10 ml pipettes. So you'll need 10 ml pipettes for addition of your amino antipyrine, your potassium ferric cyanide. Also you can use it for NaH, CO3. Then yeah, I think also for your diluent, right? So the one you use for diluent, you can also use it for adding one of the components. I think 3 10 ml pipettes should be enough. While 1 ml pipettes, you will need 1, 2, 3, at least 3 you will need there also, right? 1 ml pipettes. Other than that, what do you need? Any glasswares are needed? Yes, for test and control also we will have to see, no? So 10 ml पाइपेट में बढ़ाना पड़ेगा क्योंकि सबस्ट्रेट के लिए एक पाइपेट एक्स्ट्रा लगेगा, राइट? वैसे ही तुम्हारा अनइनोक्युलेटेड एंड इनोक्युलेटेड मीडिया सुपरनेटेंट डालने के लिए यू विल नीड 1 ml पाइपेट एक्स्ट्रा. रेस्ट will remain the same, so that's okay, right? So 1 ml or rather 1 pipette for each will increase 10 ml के लिए as well as for 1 ml. बराबर? Okay, then other than that, chemicals, you will need phenol solution, right? Having 50 micrograms per ml. So how much of that will you need? थ्री ml तो कट टू कट लगेगा ना, तो 5 ml मांग सकते हो. Distilled water, you will need a lot of it. So you can ask for 50 to 100 ml, whatever is the volume. Then you need 0.5 normal NaOH. Right? Then 0.5 normal of NaHCO3. So NaOH 0.8 in all tubes. You have 8 such tubes. So you will need around, how much of it will be needed? 6 ml ke kareeb. So you can ask for 10 ml. And NaHCO3 you have 1.2 per tube. That also you can ask for 10 ml. Right? Then 4-amino antipyrine. You can ask for 10 ml because 1 ml per tube. Or rather, either 10 ml से भी काम नहीं चलेगा. You may need more, a little more of it, 15 ml each. Then potassium ferricyanide. That also you will need around 10 ml, 1 ml per tube, right? Other than this, for inoculation and for test, you will need other things as well. So you'll need the substrate, the buffered disodium phenyl phosphate. That around 3 ml should be enough. You will need sterile nutrient broth to do the inoculation, right? So that is going to be around 3 ml is more than enough. And you will need 3 ml into 2 tubes, one for inoculation and another for uninoculated tube, because that you will need to add, right? So you will have to ask for one for inoculating it and another for using as uninoculated one, which you will add during your assay proper. Okay. Fine. Any queries till this point?
For culture also we require.
Yes, very good. So you will ask for 18-hour-old Asorius, right? So culture suspension of 18-hour-old Asorius, which you will then inoculate in nutrient broth. उसके लिए कुछ OD का specificity नहीं है. So you can just ask for culture suspension of 18-hour-old Asorius. ठीक है? I don't know why I have written it on the screen, but it's not visible. I think there is a lag of net. Okay, now it's visible. See. Okay, so if there are no more questions, we can stop here. I'll post the problems and we'll discuss those problems in the next week. Next week, we will resume back with our medical microbiology practical. We will have lower respiratory tract, which we will be dealing with in the next week. Okay, so have discussed in upper respiratory tract before you come up. I hope that you have taken out time to write out things in the specific format so that you have everything in one place.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Nitin sir, can we stop? Is there anything that you want to add, or can we stop?
No, sir. I think everything has been covered that is required. Now we can stop.
Okay. So students, then you can start disconnecting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.